How's it going, everyone? Kenny again, doing another Cyberpunk benchmark. This time we're actually going to do the in-game benchmark so you guys can get a better idea of the averages of the performance of the RTX 4080 and the 5900X. So we're going to tab out really quick so I can show you guys. I got the Ryzen 9 5900X slightly overclocked, and then the MSI Supreme X 4080 at stock. Everything's bone stock on that. So we're going to get into the actual in-game benchmark. So this will be at 3440 by 1440, and I can also do some other resolutions as well. But we're going to focus on this one right away, and then I'll probably jump into the next ultra-wide resolution as well. So graphics, I have no DLSS, no other upscaling going on. All this other junk here, I got all that turned off. Everything else is on ultra. No ray tracing. So we're going to go ahead and run the benchmark. No ray tracing, everything else on ultra. So this should be somewhere in the high 80s on average, without ray tracing. So in gameplay, it's pretty dang smooth. You'll see anywhere from up to 100 down to 70-ish, somewhere around there. Kind of depends on where you're at. As you can see, kind of going through here, the GPU is fully utilized, between 98, 97, 99% utilization. So if you're running a 5900X or a 5800 or a 57, maybe even a 5600X, I'm not 100% sure, but they're all pretty close in performance. This will kind of give you a decent idea, at least in this game, at this resolution, what you can expect from an RTX 4080 if you're looking to upgrade and you have this resolution. It's pretty taxing on the GPU, so usually you're not CPU bound. There are some spots in this game that where you can be a little bit CPU bound, but as you can see from this benchmark, we're doing okay with the 5900X. And you can also see running stock, we're running just a little under 300 watts. Not too bad. It stays pretty cool. So there are, we're at 86.85, basically 87 give or take. So no upscaling, nothing else. So that's pretty decent. So let's go back into our settings and let's turn on ray tracing. Everything on ultra. And then let's run our benchmark again and see. I think that will be probably between the high 30s to the low 50s, kind of bouncing around in there. So if you're in actual gameplay, that's kind of what you can expect. But I think our average here should be in the mid 40s. Ray tracing on ultra in this game is definitely taxing, but you can see more 99% utilization on the GPU. But if you want to play 3440 by 1440 native, you can absolutely do it. I mean, it's not the smoothest, but it kind of depends on what you're doing in this game. I know that I played around this frame rate range when I had my 3060 Ti, trying to get the most out of it possible. Of course, I was using DLSS, but high 40s is totally playable. You can see more 99% utilization. GPU is getting a little bit warmer, getting a little bit above 300 watts power draw on the GPU now with ray tracing on. So it's definitely taxing. We're almost half the FPS, not quite, but pretty dang close. It's pretty amazing how taxing the ray tracing is in this game. So let's see, 42.9, so basically 43. So pretty darn close to half. Okay, so let's go ahead and kill our 4080 by turning on path tracing and see where we're at with this benchmark. Path tracing is pretty rough, so we're gonna find out. This is with no DLSS, and the next time around I'll turn off path tracing and we'll use DLSS quality, because that's where I think most people would be playing. Yeah. That's pretty rough. So we're definitely at 99% utilization here with the path tracing, and I'm kind of surprised the power usage isn't more. It's still around the same amount of power draw as with standard ultra ray tracing power draw wise, but FPS is about half. So definitely path tracing native 3440 by 1440 is not happening. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, this is super choppy. I'm sure this'll come through on YouTube, being 20 something FPS, pretty rough. All right. So, no go on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn on DLSS quality, go back to ultra ray tracing, and these settings I think is where most people will be playing. Let's see what kind of performance we get. So we're definitely in the 70s, 60s to 70s, low 80s. So I think our average is going to be somewhere in the high 60s. Totally playable. I think this is where most people would play, and I think that this game looks better, maybe in some spots with DLSS on than not having it, unless you use the DLAA. But without it, there's some things in this game that don't look as good, not as crisp. But with DLSS on quality, it looks pretty dang good. It's still nice and sharp at 3440 by 1440. Now we might average. Yeah, I still think we're going to average in the high 60s. This is pretty optimal, I think. Dang. 75. Yeah, it did great. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and leave. Well, we're not going to do that. We're going to do frame generation and leave that on quality. It always wants to go to auto. So everything else the same. Ray tracing, everything with frame generation. So this is actually how I play most of the time. Just because the frame generation does take a little bit away from the sharpness in some instances, but overall it still looks amazing. But the smoothness is just awesome, especially when you're driving around. It's definitely better. So yeah, I think we're gonna average no less than 100. Yeah, maybe even 110. So this is pretty awesome here. Over 100 FPS, super smooth. And we're still not CPU bound. If we are, it's very, very, very minimal. So again, if you're running the 5900X or 5800X, somewhere around there, this is going to be a really good match for you in this game. Of course, the frame generation does help with that, but so far I think it's a pretty good pairing. So I think we'll probably average pretty close to 110, give or take a little bit. Yeah, 114. That's awesome. Okay, so let's do one more with path tracing on, and because it's so taxing, we're gonna go ahead and leave frame generation on, DLSS quality, everything else ultra, and we'll see how this does. I think this should be probably somewhere in the 80s. We'll see. 70s or 80s. Okay, high 60s. Probably see high 60s, low 70s. So if you want to get the very most out of this game with the new path tracing at 3440 by 1440, you can absolutely do it. You can max everything out in this game, no problem, and still get above 60 FPS. This is where frame generation really makes a giant difference. When you're just maxing everything out, especially with the new ray tracing, how hard it is on the GPU, this is definitely the way to do it. And it still looks really good. Yeah, we're definitely averaging in the high 60s. Yep, 71. That's awesome. All right, so let's do one more. If you just want the smoothest experience and you want to max out your monitor's refresh rate, turn off all ray tracing, keep DLSS on quality, frame generation on, and just for fun, we'll see what we get here. Definitely maxing out my monitor. Mine's 144 hertz. There we go. Yeah, so for the most part, maxing out my monitor. So if you want crazy smooth Cyberpunk, you can do it. If you have like an Alienware OLED that goes up to 165, 175, you'll get dang close to maxing out Cyberpunk on that monitor too. In gameplay will be obviously a little different. Some spots you might get much higher, some you might get a little bit lower. But yeah, this is pretty high refresh for Cyberpunk, and it still looks amazing. I mean, obviously the reflections aren't that great, but you could also mess with settings too, and when you're messing with ray tracing, you can have just ray trace reflections or just ray trace lighting. You can mess with things and keep it pretty high. But at 1440p ultra wide, you can have definitely high refresh in Cyberpunk. Let's see what this average is. 148. Pretty awesome. I think we're going to end it here, guys. I'm going to do another video at 3840 by 1600, and then I'll do another at 4K, and I still need to make a video with overclocking the 4080. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. But I think Cyberpunk's a good game to overclock the 4080, and you can see a little bit of the gains, but I'll get into that next time. Thanks for watching, guys.